Hey everybody, welcome to this rousing edition of What's Shay T Tooting Today. So today I am at Pomona Raceway in Pomona, California at the NHRA Winternationals. We are with our client Brian Fitzpatrick and his Lucas Oil sponsored 2JZ powered Top Dragster, which is now featuring a precision turbocharger. So what I wanted to do is do a quick walk around of the race car, maybe if Brian's around, get a chat with him real quick and let you guys see what today's game plan is for qualifying. So now that Paul Yaw has had a chance to see my face, which I know he hates, which is why I always start every video with my face, let me flip this thing around so you can see the actual fun thing we're playing with, which would be the dragster. So this thing is a, by the way, this is Brian Fitzpatrick, everybody. He's the owner driver. Brian, what year is this car?
98.
98. So this chassis is a 98, but it's
Charlie and Fred.
Charlie and Fred chassis, yeah. The guys from what they used to work with Manzo,
yeah,
right?
Frank
Okay.
Manzo's team.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Got it from Arslanian. Polish
right.
race.
This is the old AEM dragster that it's at one point.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So Brian and his dad ran this car for a number of years with various configurations of 2JZ power in it, and it now has sort of the latest generation of 2JZ goodies, including a, this has a billet block in it now, right?
Yes.
So we've got a, obviously ice water to air, charge air heat exchanger. Let me roll around the back of the car here a little bit. Carbon fiber wing, sort of standard issue stuff on a top dragster, a general top dragster. This thing, obviously with a 6-cylinder, we don't need as much wing as you need with an 8-cylinder. So we have a Ed Thornton SU Sandcars built charge air heat exchanger, ice water to air. We now have a Gen 2 precision 98mm turbocharger, which we're going to try for the first time today and see how that thing acts. It has the Mazworks Racing billet 2JZ block in it, and then it uses sort of like what everybody else is using, standard cast Toyota Supra 2JZ cylinder head.
But the latest Mazworks head. This is a 300 CFM flowed Mazworks stock head.
Okay, so this is a Mazwork prepared factory casting.
Yes.
On this thing.
Yes.
Okay, and then again, first time trying with the brand new precision turbo engine 98mm compressor. And this car uses, if we look behind the engine, this car is a little bit unique from some of the door cars because this uses a torque converter, and it uses a torque converter drive. So inside the bell housing here we have a Neil Chance, right? Neil Chance Racing torque converter. It's a lockup style torque converter.
No chance.
And then it has a Bruno converter drive, which is similar to, I think if you've seen my video earlier or last year with the quick drive assembly, it's another type or brand of a drive assembly for just a torque converter. So basically that device has a pump inside of it, and it pumps the fluid through the torque converter. It's got an oil pan on the bottom of it, obviously to hold the oil, and then it has an output shaft that goes to the input shaft on what is typically used behind these 2Js, all the cars that are fast anyway, a Liberty's Gears 5-speed gearbox. So unlike some of the other cars that run a clutch, this one is a torque converter with a Bruno torque converter drive, and the converter is a lockup style converter. So it'll leave the starting line like a torque converter car, and then at the other end of the racetrack it acts like a clutch car. Only the difference between this and a clutch car would be that the clutch doesn't have the power to actually clamp the engine entirely and lock it up on the gear changes, so it's a little bit less aggressive on the gear change than the torque converter is with a torque converter clutch in it, because the torque converter clutch has enough capacity in it to not allow the engine to slip at all on the gear change. Of course, this has, as no one I'm sure is surprised to see, a Motec M800 engine management system on it, a Motec CDI-8 capacitive discharge ignition, because obviously if it didn't have that, I wouldn't be here talking to you about it. And then it has some of the other sort of standard issue data logging stuff that most of these cars have, which is race pack, dash, and logger system to monitor some of the functions of the drivetrain that we can't do with just the ECU. This thing, how long is this thing, Brian? What's the wheelbase? It's a 262-inch wheelbase. So these sort of standard issue wheels and tires that you see here. Same stuff you'd see on a top fuel car or top alcohol dragster. And the front has obviously a pair of wings on it, just enough to keep the nose basically neutral as it goes down the racetrack. 262 inches, so a top fuel car wheelbase is 300 inches. Because this car doesn't quite obviously have the power that a top fuel car has, it doesn't need the extra wheelbase. So far we're having 2 qualifying sessions today in the class that we're running, which is Top Dragster. And in Top Dragster category, it's a class where they run lots of different combinations of race cars that run all different numbers between 6 flat and I think maybe 699. So there are lots of different types of power trains that you can have and run the Top Dragster class, all the way from a blown alcohol Hemi to obviously a turbocharged 6-cylinder 2J. But you're not allowed to run quicker than 6 flat. If you run quicker than 6 flat, they throw your run out, and you're disqualified for that run. So basically what we've got to do today is test out this new Precision 98mm Gen 2 turbocharger and see how it works. And hopefully it doesn't work so well that we run quicker than 6 flat. Otherwise, obviously, it's going to chuck us right out and we won't be qualified. So we got 2 runs today. Our plan is to go up there with a kind of a mild tune-up and go see what it runs, get a little bit of a comparison and a feel for what the engine's going to do with this new turbo setup on it. And then this afternoon, we may be able to step it up a little, or we might have to slow it down a little. We kind of don't really know what we're going to get because our combination is obviously different now with this new compressor on here. And we don't have any idea what we're going to get. Maybe it's going to run exactly the same as it ran before, or maybe it's going to run faster. Again, it's a little bit of a guess. So we'll sort of go up there with our best guess as to what we think it might do, and we'll see what happens. We did make some runs with a car last weekend. Well, Brian did. I didn't. I was laid up from my surgery. But anyway, I was helping over the phone with my eyes and ears and whatever I could do from laying on my couch. And they ran the thing last week. Anyway, ran it to the 330. With a fair bit less boost than we normally run, just trying to be cautious, and it ran some really good numbers. It went 985 60 foot, which it normally goes like low 970s, and it went 262 to the 330, which its best ever is 252 to the 330. So we're happy with those results. Everything looks good on the tune-up. We're gonna go ahead and get this thing prepared to go to the staging lanes and make a run. Our first run, I think, is right around lunchtime, so that gives us about probably like another hour before we actually even do anything with the car. But that's the basic basic layout of this thing. It is it's definitely more fun to play around with a dragster than a door car, just because, man, a dragster has so much bite on the starting line. It never tries to spin the tire. I mean, it just dead hooks like a drag radial car and drives off. So that's exciting. It's always exciting when you are not traction limited and you're power limited, because then of course you're trying to figure out how you can get enough power in to become traction limited. But this thing, anyway, this is sort of the general spec that we've been running on all the 2J stuff for the past several years. You know, it uses a set of billet atomizer injectors as a secondary injector. Those flow about right around 600 pounds per hour. And then it has some 200 pounds per hour Siemens Deca primary injectors that we run off of the Motec M800. So that's kind of the lay of the land for where we are today at Pomona. Brian, you got anything you want to add to the equation here?
I just want to thank Shane T for coming out, being hurt like he is, and looking forward to making a good hit. Yeah, and thank the rest of the team. Thank Precision Turbo for helping us out with the sponsorship. Lucas Oil, MozWorks, and Mav TV, American Reel, Plasma Man, JE Pistons. I want to thank everyone else. Dart and Sleeves. Really appreciate all your help.
Very cool, man. Very cool. All right, well, we're going to give it hell today, guys. We'll give you an update when we kind of know more, but that's what we currently have going on from the pit area. Hello, Manuel from MazWorks. Thank you for your awesome parts and contributions to this race car. We're going to find out if we're going to do something exciting for you here pretty quickly. So that's the update from Pomona. We'll be back later with a little bit more of an update on whatever it is we find that we are able to do with this thing after Q1. So thanks everybody for joining, and we'll catch up with you then.